Welcome to our presentation on leasing calculation basics using TValue Online. So we're going to show you some of the magic of TValue. Think of those stars as numbers, just throw them into the magic hat and you'll get your calculations. So quick agenda, we're going to give you a tour of relevant features. We'll show you some fun shortcuts to make life easier with TValue Online. And then we'll do some basic case studies. So let's look at our tour. We're going to show you where the cash flows are, what compute options to work with, your input setups, event names, show you special series, and work with the amortization schedule. So let's go into TValue Online. Here's your cash flow data. You always put your input here on the cash flow data. If you go to more here, your ribbon may look a little different depending on what size computer monitor you're using. But here we have compute options. We offer 4 different computation methods. Normal is the most common. US rule is the second most common. You have different options here. You can always save as defaults. And then go to your next option. So now we're going to go to input setup. Input setup, my default event, since we're doing leasing calculations, I'm going to put lease. So all my future schedules will have lease as my starting point. And we can also change monthly or any of the other options. If you do have payments in advance, you want to put same date as cash flow and save that as your default. One payment after cash flow would be payments in arrears, and I'll show you a shortcut how to work through that. We also have custom event names if you want to get really particular. We do have a leasing group here, which we're going to use, but you can put other description in. You're allowed basically 5 debits and 5 credits, so you can add to them as you need. And our special series, you have to be on a payment line. Our special series gives you different types of series of what we call irregular payments. So here you can do an interest only. You can do a fixed principal plus interest. You can do amount step, percent step, monthly skip. Monthly skips is common for seasonal businesses in the leasing industry. We can actually have different payments for different months. So nice feature within the program. And the amortization schedule, we'll show you that a little bit later. Some features, shortcuts within the program, which are kind of cool. First of all, under the events, these are the events that you start with. Once you're in an event, you get it locked into those descriptions. Under the date, I can put in 6 characters, let's say 010121, to get it inputted. Once it's inputted, if I want to change it, let's say I want to change 1 month, I can hit Shift M and I'll move it back 1 month. I can hit M and move it forward. The same with day, D for day and Y for year. For the amount, we have a lot of flexibility. I can put 100K in. I'll put the zeros in for me for 100,000. I can do the same thing for H for 100,000, M for millions, and B for billions. I can also put in like 1.2 M. For a payment, in addition to the special series, we can use the what I call the weighted unknown or the X factor. I can put in 2X and it'll take whatever the payment is and multiply it times 2. So that's a quick tour of some of the shortcuts within the program. So now let's do some calculations. So we're going to do payments in arrears and payments in advance, and then we'll do lease with residual, and then we'll do some quarterly payments to show you some different options of the program. So our first case, we're going to do a $50,000 lease. We'll do a 5-year term. Yield on the deal or the interest rate will be 10%, and we'll solve for the rentals. So we're going to have monthly cash flows. We said our interest rate or yield will be 10% on the deal. And we're going to put a lease. We'll put in $50,000. I can put $50K in. We're going to have one lease. And we said our payments will be in arrears. We're going to have U for unknown. And to put 5 years, I could put 5Y or I could put 60 and calculate. And our payments are $1,072. And here's your amortization schedule, which will show you the cash flows. It'll show you the principal interest allocation. It'll give you all your totals on an annual basis and any rounding that's appropriate. Next, let's do payments in advance. And we're going to use our first and last payments in advance, or we'll use our weighted unknown to figure out what those payments are going to be. So let's assume we have a $50,000 lease, 5 years, 10% yield, and we're going to have 2 payments in advance. Let's go back into TValue. And we're going to have monthly compounding. We said we're going to have an interest rate of 10%. And we'll put our date as 01/01/21. And we have 50,000. We are going to do a lease. And we said we're going to have 2 payments in advance. I showed you there's a shortcut where we can set our first payment line to be the same date as the first, or I can just hit Shift M and it'll move it back 1 month to the contract date. And now we said we're going to have 2 payments in advance, so I can use my weighted unknown, or X factor, put in 2X, and I only have 1 of those. I want to put a note in here on the memo. I could put first and last, for instance. And then I'm going to go to line 3. Now my next payment will be on 2/1, but U for unknown, we said there'll be 5 years, 60 payments. We have first and last up front, so we're going to have 58 remaining payments and calculate. So our payments are $1,045, and first and last would be twice that, $2,090. Let's do payments in arrears with a residual. So we're going to have a $100,000 lease. We're going to have another 5-year term, 10% yield, and we'll put in our residual, so $5,000. Back into TValue, new, and we'll say we're going to have a 10% interest rate. 01/01/21, get 100K. And we said we're going to have payments in arrears. So we're going to put U here, it'll be 1 month later, and it'll be 5 years or 60 payments. And we're going to have a residual. So we're going to go to line 3. And dates are always important when you're doing calculations. I'll show you a little bit. So we're going to hit R for residual, or I can hit the drop down. One of my options. But this is actually on the 61st payment. So we said it would be a 5-year deal. So we're going to have to hit Shift M and back this up 1 month. And we can put our $5,000 in here and calculate our payments. And our payments are going to be $2,060. One of the things we need to understand when we're doing calculations is time value of money. So just a quick sensitivity analysis. So if you had a deal for $50,000 for 5 years at 10%, if you had payments in arrears versus 2 payments in advance, it would change the payment slightly, because if the receiver gets the money sooner, the lender, they're going to return is going to be a little bit less money than they need to get their return. So here you have payments in arrears, it'd be $1,062. You had payments in advance. Another way to look at it is you had $50,000, 5 years in the same payment. If you had payments in advance, your yield actually would go from 10% with payments in arrears to 10.77. So time value of money, that extra month or 2 does make a slight difference, both in the payments and or the yield. Let's do another calculation. Let's do quarterly payments. So we're going to have a lease amount of $200,000, and we'll do it 5 years at 12%, and we'll have one payment in advance. Let's jump back into TValue. So we're going to do compounding will be quarterly. So we're going to have a 12% interest rate. Our start date on 01/21. And we said we'll do 200,000, 200K. And we'll go to line 2. And we said we're going to have payments in advance. We're at one payment in advance this time. So now I have to actually hit Shift M 3 times because it only backs it up 1 month. And I'll have our first payment here. And we're going to have 5 years quarterly. That'll be 20 payments. And that should do it. And we calculate, and our payments are 13,051. And we go to our amortization schedule. We'll see our payments. First is no interest because there's no time has elapsed, and then you'll have our quarterly payments to pay it off. So that's a quick summary of doing some simple calculations of leasing calculations in TValue Online. We also have more of an advanced class if you're interested in watching that. You can go to our website at TimeValue.com, go to webinars, and then you'll see the leasing group. If you don't have TValue, it's $60 a year per license. It's an annual fee. It includes updates, access to training videos such as this, and unlimited technical support. If you ever have any questions, need any help, always feel free to give us a call, 800-426-4741, or you can email us at info@timevalue.com. Thank you.